And we are back with another episode of the Dedication to Excellence podcast. Today's guest is the author of the best-selling book, Side Hustle Millionaire, host of the 365 Driven podcast, and mentor to many entrepreneurs, Tony Whatley. Welcome to the show. We appreciate you stopping by, brother.
Hey, man, thanks for having me on. It's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to jump into this conversation with you guys and unveil some crazy stuff that we've been seeing out there.
Yeah, let's talk about it. We'll talk about the crazy stuff. We'll talk about the not so crazy stuff and everything in between. But I'm also very excited to talk side hustles with you, which is a subject near and dear to my heart, as side hustles have been the foundation for my career, as well as a lot of the entrepreneurs I know listening to this. And I think it's also a very timely subject. I think more people than ever are aware now that, solely relying on a job might not be the best strategy, and are open to the idea of entrepreneurial endeavors, whereas they might not have been so much in the past. So how did your journey begin, Tony? What was your life like before the side hustles began?
I grew up here in the Houston area. I would say lower middle class. My family was always living in the fixer-upper homes. My parents were really, dedicated to getting my sister and I in a good school system. So we'd basically live in the worst neighborhoods with the worst house. And we would just basically live in a flip house until we fixed it up. And then we would live in it a couple of years and then upgrade a little bit to a nicer flip house. So, I got to see them. My mom was a cafeteria worker in the public school system and, retired doing that. My dad was in the U.S. Marines, a Vietnam vet, and I was actually born in Japan. My mom is Japanese. And when we came over after he got out of the military, he worked in the refineries here in Houston for his whole career. So I got to see two really hardworking blue collar parents who didn't really get to see the systems treat them fairly in many ways. And, we lived off of government cheese occasionally when my dad would get laid off from work because he could lean on the government. And, I didn't understand that, we didn't have money. We had a really good childhood. I think my parents were definitely supportive of everything I had. And we were taught to have a lot of pride in anything we did have, even if we didn't have much. But I just remembered that if I wanted to have something or achieve something, I had to go put the work in, so I was the kid, 10, 12 years old, knocking on doors, mowing yards, washing cars, walking dogs, raking leaves, whatever I could to make a few bucks, because I didn't get gifts unless it was Christmas or my birthday, which are like 1 month apart. So really like one section of the year I got gifts, and then the rest of it I had to go figure shit out. And so that's what I did. I mean, that's just the hustle. And I remember seeing the other kids in the neighborhood, they'd ride their bicycles by while I was mowing somebody else's yard, and they would kind of laugh at me because I was like, why are you mowing this person's yard? This isn't your house. And I didn't really have any shame over that. It's just, that's what my parents taught me. And, and that's what I think about the employee mindset is, we were always trying to trade our hours for dollars. It was always about, hey, if you want more money, go pick up a second job or a third job. And sometimes, and I did have I've worked 3 jobs before when I was in school, and it was always about getting a pay raise or just trading units of time for dollars. And then I thought that was normal. If you're waiting tables, you go pick up a double shift. If you're working this, you go get overtime. That's always about just trading time and dollars. And that's what I grew up believing. And, when I started making money while I was asleep, and when I started making money, like when I was on vacation, it was like, it didn't seem real to me at first, but that's when I really started to become entrepreneurial, is when I understand like time and money are not related. It's a big fallacy that gets perpetuated by a lot of people. You always hear the time is money, money is time. And everybody kind of repeats this thing like it's gospel, and they never really question it, but it's bullshit. It doesn't make any sense. To a true entrepreneur, I'm going to make money on your time, or I'm going to make money regardless of time. It has nothing to do with time. It's independent of time. So once you get out of that employee mindset, you start to realize I can make money while I'm, surfing Instagram, sitting on the toilet, versus having to show up somewhere and clocking in and having an overbearing, passive aggressive dickhead boss. It's like, you understand there's a whole different world out there that most people aren't even aware of.
For sure. And for you personally, what was the catalyst to that mindset shift?
Honestly, it was me getting into wanting some more authority and wanting to just be more creative. So I remember being a young engineer. I graduated. It took me 7 years. I was working full-time construction, just like my dad. And I would go to school at night, and I would wait tables on the weekends, and I would be a mechanic on Saturday morning and Sundays. And that whole hustle and grind, that was terrible for my life. I mean, I was sleep deprived, broke, stressed out. My grades were struggling. Relationships were struggling. But I didn't quit. And when I finally got out of school, I felt like having a 40-hour, entry-level engineering job at $45,000 salary was like a big boy job. But I was getting home at 4:30 in the afternoon, and it felt like a part-time job after going through that for 7 years.
Mhm.
So I was like, well, I could go to the bar with my friends and do stupid shit, which I did occasionally. I didn't say I was perfect, but the thing is that I just thought, I could do more with my time. I'm so used to that hustle. Like, what can I do? And initially, I would build these little hand-built electric circuits that would fool the sensors on an LS1 engine. So that was like car thing. I love cars. And I built these little hand-built circuits that I'd sit at the kitchen table and solder these things together. I designed them, because I was in engineering and understand how to do that. But it didn't scale, man. I could only make about one per hour, and I was making about $35 profit per unit. So maybe I could build 2 or 3 per evening, maybe extra $100, which wasn't really much more than me waiting tables on the same amount of time as a waiter, making $100, right? And so that was my first like online type business. It was a product, and it just didn't scale very well. And also there wasn't a lot of customer base, because there really is the Corvette, the Camaro, and the Firebird guys that could use them, and anybody else that didn't fit on their cars. So, that kind of gave me an eye opener. It's like, okay, this is like side money, it's not really going to scale. And so I started LS1Tech, really just thinking about really small. And that's why I want to point out this perspective, is that start your business even if you don't think it's going to make $1 million. Because a lot of people, have this pressure, like you need to go have $1 million idea and you need to jump in and go. It's like, that's a bunch of bullshit. Okay. Because nobody thinks like that. When you grow up broke, you don't think like, I'm going to go be a millionaire. Like, it'd be nice, but you don't even think it's possible for yourself. You don't even believe that's possible. It's so far from our reality. So when I started LS1Tech, I thought about making $500 a month, which was my car note of the Trans Am I'd bought when I graduated college. It's like, okay, if I could have a free car, this would be super awesome, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I just want to build a website that's a place for my car guy friends to hang out, and we could talk about racing and making our cars faster, make them look cooler, learn how to be a better driver, little how-to articles and things like that. And then within 10 months, it had started growing and growing and growing. We had advertising revenue. We're making about $10,000 a month. And only then it was like, wow, I think this is a business, not a hobby anymore. I think I got to go create an LLC or something, or, put a different bank account together. I mean, I didn't have all the answers. See what I mean? I was like, I would just kind of adapted as I went. But as it started making that kind of money, I treated it more serious. I started saying, well, this is not a hobby anymore. I'm going to treat it like a business. I'm going to, do the taxes the right way and report things and get the structures in place and learn about branding and marketing and, sales, and understanding all these different aspects of business, which most people fail at because they go into it at a technical understanding level or expertise, but then understand business itself.
Mm.
So I shifted and treated, even though it was a side business because I had a career, I basically just said, okay, I'm learning processes and systems in engineering. How can I implement that same thought into creating processes and systems within my business, my little business, and teach other people what I'm doing so I don't have to work in that business? Because I worked offshore a lot and I was always gone. So I didn't have time to show up and do things on a daily basis. So I got really good at making money that didn't require my presence, which even today I still enjoy doing. I still like having businesses that don't require my presence. So that's how I became the side hustle millionaire. It's just had 75 people on my team and I was just rarely there.
Love it. So how long did it take you to transition out of the employee space and having your own full-time automated businesses now?
It took me, I guess, I left corporate for good in 2015. So I would say that was 14 years of me working full-time and building 7-figure businesses as side businesses.
Wow.
And the reason why is come to find out, it was what we call the sunk cost fallacy. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah. Yeah.
So a sunk cost fallacy is when you believe something, but it's not necessarily true. And here's what you heard me talk about the struggle of college. I didn't enjoy my college year. When people tell me they enjoyed college, I'm like, you had money or you had an easy degree, because I had neither of those. Right. And
or
so
you partied the whole time, which is what I did.
Yeah, exactly. And I didn't have time to do that stuff. So I didn't enjoy college at all, but I paid for my own university degree and went to University of Houston, got a mechanical engineering degree. And I didn't want to air quotes waste that degree because I had invested that much time, that much money into it. And I didn't want to waste it, and this is my mom's voice talking, right? You don't waste your degree. Like, even after I sold a company for millions of dollars, my mom would ask me, even to this day, she still asks me, like, are you still looking for a job? Are you you're not using your engineering degree? And like, Mom, like, dude, I sold that company in 2007. Like love her to death, but she's been ingrained and indoctrinated with that belief that you have to have a steady job and you shouldn't waste the degree that you've spent money on, you know, because she was such a saver. Like my mom and dad are basically the Dave Ramsey millionaires, where they lived broke their entire lives and cut corners and clipped coupons and only
Gave
bought
up a
things
whole
on
bunch of a lot of
sale
money.
and bought flip houses and just they basically saved their way up to $1 million. And that's awesome because their retirement's covered. They're having to enjoy their retirement. But I grew up in that saver mindset, and it just
Sure.
kind of destroyed me for, you know, the first 10, 15 years of my adult life, because I thought that was the way you do things. And it's not, man. I'm more wired to go learn how to make more money. They were learning how to save what they had. They never looked at trying to earn more money. You know, that's what's wrong with a lot of the population. They just kind of get complacent and they just kind of scrimp pennies and cut coupons and live where they're at. But guys like me are like, that's cool, but why don't we go make more money? Like, why can't we go start another company or do something else or increase instead of just trying to save? Do both if you really want to win, but enjoy your life, man.
Man, so many lessons to just pull out of that right there. I'm like, as you were telling that story, I'm like, oh, I got to tell him to go deeper on that. Oh, I got to tell him to go deeper on that. I guess the first thing I want you to elaborate on is, it sounds like you had your fair share of skeptics, whether that be your parents and the mindset they had growing up and instilled in you. And I think what stops a lot of people from really embarking down a entrepreneurial path is the criticism, the fear of what others might think. So what is your message to the people who are working a full-time job but have these visions of greener pastures and freedom and millions of dollars, but their circle is holding them back? Like, what is your message to them in today's world?
I saw that in my entire life, and I'll tell you that it doesn't go away. Even no matter where your socioeconomic status is, or wherever your perceived level of status is, or your level of income, wherever you are, whether you're making 20,000 a year, 100,000 a year, 150, 200, a million a year, you're always going to find these people that kind of hold you back. And it's unfortunate because you think that you think that you're going to earn some level that those people will kind of fade away, right? Because we always think that, like, oh, that's the poverty mindset and that's the lower middle class mindset. We hear these kind of things, but I know net worth millionaires that still have that fixed mindset. And they don't like when you climb out of the box that they've defined for you, that we all hang out in. Like, we're all in the same box. Who's this guy, Tony, building a ladder over here, trying to climb to the next level and trying to do things and trying to improve and trying to get out of this box? Like, we need to throw rocks at that ladder and make sure that ladder comes back down. I mean, it's the crab in the bucket type story we hear, but I'm just telling your listeners and you guys that you're going to find these people at every level, right? I've been hanging around with millionaires for over 10 years, and I still run into people in that level that just, you know, why? Is because they've achieved something in their lives that they never thought was possible. So they thought that their life, that even though it seems good on paper, is so far above what their original potential, their belief for themselves were. So when you start stretching that and actually doing things that they know that are within their capabilities, like me getting on stages and teaching people and influencing millions of people and things like that, they know that's within their capabilities. It's within yours, Eugene. It's within yours, Dustin. It's within our capabilities, right? We can all do this. We can all do this. The potential is endless. They know that, and they see you doing it, but they're not doing it, right?
Sure.
So they're hiding in the shadows. You're growing brighter. Your bright light shining, this illuminating them in the shadows, and they don't like that. This feels uncomfortable. Like, oh man, Tony, turn your light down. Like, we got to dim your shine a little bit because you need to hang out in this box with us. So they say things that are passive aggressive and go, I mean, why would you do that? Like, are you sure you want to do that? I don't know if I would do that. You know, they're saying these kind of things. Or they get on the little tech circles with their friends and go, oh, look at Tony, man. He thinks he's Tony Robbins or something. You know, he's like trying to be a motivational speaker or something. And because they don't understand, because they're getting their paycheck. Maybe they're making $500,000 a year, but they're getting it from a corporation that's, you know, spoon feeding them. I'm over here deciding to walk away from that kind of stuff and go do my own thing and make more. But they don't like that because they're seeing me doing what they don't have the courage to do what I'm doing. They don't have the bravery to go do what I'm doing. And they don't like that. So it kind of makes them feel uncomfortable. It's a whole lot easier to throw rocks than it is to come with you, you know? So, you know, the haters, the critics, the naysayers, the way I think about this, dude, is that you will have them. And even in my entrepreneurship groups, we actually teach people that you need to go earn your haters. Go earn yourself some haters, because the thing is, a lot of people take pride in thinking they're likable and everybody likes me and I get along with everybody. And they say this kind of stuff. You know, that's one of the biggest objections I hear is like, go earn some haters. Well, I don't have any haters. Everybody likes me. It's like, You know what that really means? It means like you're not fucking doing anything worth noticing. That's what it really means. That means you're obscure, you're hiding in the shadows. Nobody even knows you exist. Because as soon as you start to step out in the spotlight and doing things that are amazing, people will know you exist. And guess what? You're going to have critics, you're going to have haters, you're going to have naysayers. Think about this, guys. Every figure you can think of in history, people have changed the world. You know, Martin Luther King, Jesus Christ, all these names that you can think of have changed history, changed the world. Every one of them had critics. Mother Teresa, she could be the nicest, woman in the world, but she had haters, she had critics, she had people who probably wanted to kill her, right? See, so what makes you think you're so special that you're going to go change the world and have no critics and no haters and naysayers? Like, that's a stupid delusional thought. It doesn't even exist. Nobody can make everybody happy. So with that in mind, go out there and make noise. Go make a brighter light. Go step on those stages. Go share your thoughts. Don't be afraid to be polarizing. That's important. And understand that you will have them. And when you do have those haters, when you have those trolls saying negative things on your posts and things like that, we tell people, hey, go screenshot that, bring it back to the group, and we'll celebrate the hate.
I love it.
That's great.
I think you touch upon something great too. It's that, in today's digital world, even if you're in your real life circle, your immediate circle, you have people who doubt you and criticize. You are able to find like-minded people online because we're all connected now via this little thing called the internet. And you've done a great job of that, of leveraging the social platforms to build an audience. So can you maybe talk to us about that a little bit? Tips on building a brand online using the different platforms and maybe some specific strategies for each platform?
Yeah, my word is consistency when it comes to that. And I think most people don't understand what that means. And man, my brand is 365 driven, first of all. So that means every single day you're doing something to move you towards your goals. It doesn't mean you got to work every weekend. You know, a lot of people think that, oh, the hustle and grind, I don't believe in that. You guys heard it. I like to make a lot of money with little time, but every single day I'll still put some effort in to build what I'm building. For example, we're recording this. It's Friday. This is my son's birthday. We're going to go out later tonight. I could have said, well, it's my son's birthday. I'm not going to do anything today, but I'm recording this to get my message out there. So I'm still meeting with clients until I go to do those kind of things. On the weekends, here's the other thing. Most people don't understand that weekends are not the time off. If you're hanging around with a bunch of people celebrating because it's Friday, because we're recording on this Friday, but if people are posting Friday, let's go for the weekend and living for the weekend, like those people are going to keep you stuck where you're at for the rest of your life because they don't understand that those extra 2 days a week are actually an advantage for people like me who are driven or are going to go stomp their competition because we have an extra 2 days. Let's do some simple math here and consistency and working on weekends and showing up every day. If you were to work 5 divided by 7, 5 days out of 7, if you do the simple math, that comes out to a 5 divided by 7 is 71%. And if you use that as a grade in your school, that's like a D minus, like it's right above failing. You're only working 5 days a week, right? So when you think about that, the people who are successful, they put in effort, not working. They put in effort 7 days a week so they can hit maybe the 100%. So we got a whole lot of population, vast majority out there, putting in 71% effort and wondering why they're stuck where they're at and not getting the results that they don't have. So when you start thinking about these, weekends are always a way to get ahead. You need to take advantage of those. It's okay to screw off once in a while, go on vacation, cut loose, but schedule that. If you want to go have fun with your friends that night, put in 6 hours of productivity, learning a new skill, new talent, doing something, but create that social media content, be consistent with it, show up every day. The thing is that most people will try really hard for about 2 months. This goes for anything, whether it's fitness, starting a business, getting into a new brand, new product launch, whatever. They go hard for about 2 months. That's average. About 80% of the population does this. They go hard for 2 months, and then they're not getting the result that they wanted. And they go, oh, man, this must just not be for me. I'm just not cut out for this. I'm not getting all the followers that Tony and Dustin and Eugene are getting. I'm just going to give up. Maybe I need to pivot. They're like fucking 2 months in, they're 2 months in. I'm going into year 4 at what you see me doing now. I had really big explosions after 2 years of doing this every single day. About 2 years of just showing up every single day, every day. and giving consistent value, building the audience, building the podcast, building the entrepreneurship group, getting my message, investing in myself to become a better speaker and better orator, learning how to speak with emotion, energy, all these things I've had to invest in myself to become the right person to carry the story that I have. I wasn't like this in 2017. I didn't know how to speak. I would say a lot and pause and monotone, mono volume, mono speed, just no emotion in the voice type situation. I had to go invest to be the speaker that I am today. And I still continue to.
What are some practical tips on speaking that you have while we're on the subject?
Well, if you would have interviewed me in 2017 prior to any lessons of public speaking, I always called that version of me the monotony. So here's how monotony would talk. Hey guys, thanks for having me on the show. I'm really going to enjoy this, and I got some good tips for you, and I can't wait to share this. Very conversational speaking, same speed, same volume, same tone. That's how most people talk.
I like it.
That's how most people talk. And you hear that on Clubhouse all day long. And it's like, dude, go get some energy in you, man, get some fire in you, go get some, learn to speak with emotion. So the main thing that you're going to have to understand is that we need to vary our vocal variety. We call this in Toastmasters, it's called vocal variety. So your speed, sometimes you speak really fast like this to get the attention, but sometimes you slow things down to draw people in. Right? You have to have those two different speeds. They need to vary a lot while you're speaking. The other one is your tone. Like sometimes you want to speak really low, and then sometimes like, come on, man, let's go. You get to have that energy, that range. It's a range in your voice, just like a singer would use. And the other one is just we get the speed, the tone, and the volume, right? Sometimes like you get really hyped in your energy, you're giving it 8 out of 10 on the microphone or the stage, and then you go, hey guys, but I want to teach you something. Come on in and listen to this. I'm going to teach you this secret. See how I dropped the volume really low? But that makes people go, oh, let me listen in. Let me skip the edge of the chair. Like you draw them in, right? Mm-hmm. So that's just controlling your vocal inflections and being aware. And when we speak, you think about sentences that we will boldface one word, like a keyword within a sentence. And we stress that when we speak. So if I were to say that, we will bold one word in the keyword that we're looking at in each sentence. See how I stress each word rather than just saying it? So I can read a menu and like just pick out the keywords in each sentence and stress those things the way you sound. Now what it is, you've created a more dynamic way of communicating. And when people hear that, they're not aware that you're speaking like that, but it sounds different. And when you sound different, they pay attention, right? Mm-hmm. So it's just like when people on Clubhouse, we hear an English accent. It's different. Even if they're monotone, boring, dull, we hear an accent and we're like, oh, that sounds interesting. It's different.
Am I wrong for wanting to learn an accent just for that reason right there?
Well, they've proven it in the marketing that on television commercials that the attention rate increases when you use a foreign accent. So it's funny because when I used to work in England, I'd go over there with my Texas sounding accent and people would be all intrigued with me. Like, oh, where are you from? Like, it's amazing how you sound. Like, so I felt like I was the American James Bond, right?
I heard too that if you have like an English accent, you're perceived to have a higher IQ. So I'm literally going to start watching some like.
Yeah, it's a perception. And then you go to England and you realize like, hey, they got trash men with accents too. And they got ditch diggers with accents too. And everybody got the same accent over there. So but the thing about, imagine if you're to watch a TV show or a movie and you got two characters on screen and they got dialogue and they're monotony and they're just speaking back and forth, mono dude speak. You would be so bored out of your mind. Like, what the fuck is this? This is some boring shit. Like, and it's funny that people don't invest in themselves because here's the thing. In corporate, I was the boss. I was a project manager managing large projects, hundreds of millions of dollars. And the thing is, I lied to myself for over 20 years saying I'm good at public speaking because I had the occasional courage to go stand in front of people and speak. And I could give a hell of a slideshow presentation. And I thought that, man, I got this public speaking down. I can do this. I can get in front of my team, 75 people, and give them a little pep talk and a project kickoff meeting or talk about some topic. I got this. I'm a public speaker. I don't need training. I'm too good for that. Right. Mm-hmm. And then you go get training and you realize like the occasional courage to stand in front of people or speak or get on a microphone. That's a very small percentage of the skills. Very small. That's like 5%. Welcome to your 5% of having the occasional courage. Like, And you're like, oh, wow, there's a whole lot more strategies and tactics involved in this. And it's learning how to speak with influence. Like, you're not even, if you've never had training, you'd never know these things exist because it's not ever taught and it's not ever anything we understand. But after that is like, it's humbling, because we get a lot of CEO type people that come join a Toastmasters group and I'm here just because my company sent me here and they think I need public speaking, but I'm the CEO. I'm super important, super rich. And, I don't know why they sent me here, but, and then within 2 meetings, they're humbled. They're like, oh shit, I suck at this.
Are you still an active participant in Toastmasters?
I did it for 3 years. I became the president of the club I was in after a year, and I've won competitions doing public speaking, but I'm not active right now because they went virtual, and I don't get the same energy doing it virtual. I mean, I love the group. Still got a lot of friends in there. I said I might come back if they start doing them live, but I think it still helps people virtual. But I was more of the mentor. I'm at a role where I'm teaching them. Sure. It's like, man, I'm on Zoom all day with my clients and podcasts. It's like, I don't want to go give my Monday nights up and teach some more, so I'd rather like just do the things I enjoy on those evenings. But yeah, it's a life changer to go learn those kind of tactics, man.
Well, while we're on the subject of, investing in yourself and learning new skills and tactics, what would your recommendation be to people who have been employees their whole life that are thinking about now becoming entrepreneurs, and what should they focus on and how should they spend their time in order to make that shift?
I think the first thing they need to do is just understand that action creates results. Most people spend way too much time consuming. They'll listen to 100,000 podcast episodes. They'll take notes. They'll go to seminars. They'll read all the top level books and the bestsellers like mine. And they'll just spend a whole lot of time in consumption, but not creation. And you got to understand that there's no perfect time to start. Everybody talks about someday, but that's not a day that's on the calendar anywhere. I mean, you look at any calendar. Maybe I should make a calendar that says someday, 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 like 7 times.
Tell them like hotcakes.
See, we just came up with $1 million idea because everybody talks about someday. I'm going to go make a someday calendar.
We'll edit this part out and we can run with it.
It's like, hey, here's your fucking someday calendar. Get started. See, today is someday.
There's a lot of people out there too who they would take action, they would start, but they just don't know what they want to do. I mean, they'll say like, well, I don't know what my passion is, or if I feel like if I embark on a journey I'm not excited about, I'm not going to finish it, I'll quit after 2 months. How do you help somebody discover what their purpose is? Or is it just like a trial and error type situation where you go out there, take action, and naturally you'll gravitate to what it is that you're meant to do?
Dude, I think that too many people look for the shortcut to success. Okay. There's no shortcut, man. There's no fast track to success. It's small steps consistently made over a period of time. And I would say that the first 2 years of most businesses are really just kind of dog paddling and trying to keep your head above water. But what happens, the momentum starts to shift once everybody recognizes that you're really committed to what you're doing and they see you actually putting the work and you're hustling and you're putting in the struggle. When they see that, they're going to start to support you more because you've actually proven yourself that you've made it through that no man's land where nobody's really being, everybody washes out. So my secret power is I'm patient for the results, but I'm ultra driven at becoming the best I can be in a certain thing that I'm interested in. But I'm patient for the results because like we talked about earlier, I know most people are going to quit in 2 months. I know damn well 90% of the people are going to quit in 1 year. So if I could just outlast them and show up every single day, that leaves me in the top 10% just by default without even like having to be really good at what I do. I just have to outlast people. So that's like a superpower. It's like, dude, I'm just going to outlast these fools. I'm going to go hard every day. They're going to fade off. And then I only have to deal with the top 10% that I can compete with. And there are going to be a lot of people like me who just outlasted people. Right. So now I just got to be a little bit better, a little bit more unique than those people. And that's going to start to elevate. And the other way to get ahead and go faster is open up your wallet, man. Nobody likes to talk about that. If you want to learn from people who have done things, pay them for their time. Go hire a coach, go join an accountability mastermind, 6 to 8 people. Make sure you're spending something that's kind of uncomfortable, because if it's too cheap for you, you're going to treat it like a cup of coffee versus a cup of gold. So you got to think about these kind of things. And I'll tell you that as my coaching prices have increased, my clientele has also gotten a lot better results because now they see the value more and they're more committed. They don't come to my meetings with excuses because you can tell I don't handle excuses very well, but it's all about just investing. And also you got to think about the proximity of the people that are the gatekeepers in your industry. Kevin Harrington wrote a good book called Key Person of Influence. I recommend anybody read that. It's about how to identify the gatekeepers in any industry and learning how to align with those people and getting involved with those people and using them as leverage to get what you want. And there's nothing wrong with that, because everybody that's made success, we all know that people use us to get to the next level. That's not a surprise. There's no like, oh, let's not talk about that. Like, no, let's talk about that, because there's a reason I started a podcast over 2 years ago. And you see me on the cover art with Ed Milet, my mentor, and Andy Frizella and Sean Whalen and Bradley. And like, I can list a whole bunch of names that everybody here would recognize. Well, I paid for access to get to those people. I joined their masterminds. I spent $100,000 to go hang out with Ed Milet and Andy Frizella for a year, learning what they know, doing the kind of things that they do, getting around the people that can spend that same amount of money. You don't think that's an amazing group of people that are doing some awesome shit in the world? So sometimes it just costs you money. If you don't have time, you better have money. If you don't have money, you better have time, right? You can get to the same result, but as you start to make more money, reinvest that money and start buying access and proximity to people. I mean, your podcast right here is excellent for building relationships and networking and being around people you want to learn from. That's what we do with podcasts. Like, my podcast is not about making money. It's about being around the right people and asking them questions that I want to know. I'm getting education from it,
Mm-hmm. How did the podcast get started? I mean, were you intentional about it for that reason, to build a network, or what was the story behind you starting 365 Driven?
To me, I was a consumer of podcasts for probably 3 years before I decided to launch mine. And it was stemmed out of a little bit of a frustration and a little bit of a lack of quality in the space. Okay. So I would listen to podcasts just like you guys, and there'll be like some guest that I wanted to learn from, maybe their story, and get some insight on that guest. And you listen to these fucking hosts like ask stupid questions and not even get to like the details. Like, you talked about strategies and getting in their head and like understanding the darkness and all these different things about that person. Like, you want like, man, if I was sitting in that room, I would ask them this, and like, and guests like can hear this. They're like, man, why you've got someone that's world renowned at this one thing, and you're asking them like, what would you tell yourself if you're 18? Like, what the fuck's that? It's like, get to that thing. Let's get to that. Like, so as a listener, I started to hear this over and over. It's like, man, they keep asking surface level bullshit questions of these people that have amazing information that they're just not asking the right questions. So a little bit of that selfishness and competitiveness came out of me. It's like, dude, I think I could ask better questions. And so that's one reason I want to have a better show. And that's what I do. I try to get people into the emotional state. Like, you hear me speaking with emotion right now. Like, I want them to get to the emotional state, and I want to go deep. I want to go like peel the onion back, like kind of like you were talking about. Like, I give you a response and you go, hey, let's go back to that. That's how you go deeper. Most people just can't wait to get to the next question rather than rewinding and go, let's go deeper.
Yeah, I mean, that's really just me being a slow learner. So I got to ask a few times to really get to the heart of it. But hey, Tony, let's go deeper. So I want to talk about how you said it's no secret that you have higher caliber individuals on your show, or you reach out to them in order to help escalate your own career. Mm-hmm. But there's a right way to do that, and there's a wrong way to do that. Yeah. Now, sure, probably the most optimal way, point A to point B way to do it is to pay for the coaching. But, for someone just getting started off, having to pay thousands of dollars to be around somebody could be quite the sizable investment for them. So what are some resourceful ways to get around the right people that don't cost a lot of money for the people who don't have quite the budget yet to invest?
First of all, you got to establish presence, which could be especially if someone's on social media. Let's say you're trying to get someone that's, got a pretty good following on social media, and you want them to be a guest on your show. First off, you just go be a fan. Go consume the content they're putting out there. Respond to the posts that they're making. Meaningful stuff, not just thumbs up or not just a like, but just, you want to make your name visible. You want them to start to see a pattern, because everybody I know out there that's creating social media content, they pay attention to their social media because it feeds their endorphins. They'll scroll through and they want to read a few comments. They may not read or have to respond to all of them, but they're going to look. All of us do that. We're all humans, right? We want to see if the content we're creating is like actually resonating with our audience. So they'll scroll through, but they want to see Eugene, like on each post, like, oh, this dude's like, he's a fan. He's actually like always there. Like, good dude. And it's not about like right on or short stuff. You might just say, hey, like, hey, Tony, this post you created, it really impacted me, and here's why. And it might just be like 3 or 4 sentences, but it's genuine and it's relevant to what you just saw or witnessed or the emotion you felt from that. You don't think that if we saw that over and over and over, like we're going to be like, hey, that guy's a good dude. That's got, now you're on the radar. So you've established presence. And now when that happens enough times, I would say that's a period of weeks. They start to recognize a pattern of you showing up and supporting them and what they're doing. Or maybe if they've got a book, you go buy the book and you take a photo of it and you tag it and put it in your stories. Like, hey man, I just read this book from so-and-so. It's amazing, and hashtag them. That way they see it and they're like, oh, there's that guy again. He's supporting what I do. Like, he's a fan, man. I love that. I love this dude. He's always talking about my stuff. And then maybe you send them the DM now. Maybe it's like after they recognize you a few times, hey man, we just want to appreciate what you're doing. You're sharing some good stuff. I just want to drop some thank you to you. Don't ask successful people for anything, right? You got to build rapport. You got to have a little dialogue back and forth where if they start to at least liking your Instagram DMs, that's a start, because they're actually, that's the way they can get through it when they have a lot of DMs. But soon enough, you might just ask them a question. Hey man, what were you on that episode 205? And you said this, like, what were you really thinking about that? Because now now you're establishing that you're actually a fan, you're consuming their content, and you're being really relevant with your asks,
Mm-hmm.
And so they're like, man, this guy actually consumes my material. He's not just trying to use me. And like, you build some rapport, and then you'll know when it's the right time. Like, hey man, I'm building the show. I'd be honored to have you on as a guest, and some of the other people like I go on every show. If I have the time, I go on every show. But some people they're just too busy, or they think, hey, yeah, you have to have 100 episodes before. I get that. I mean, everybody's got their things. I'm always going to be out there and get on shows, because for all I know, you two could be the next Joe Rogan. I don't know.
Our last guest was a guest on Joe Rogan, so I think we're 1 degree away now, right?
See, so it's like you never know, and so I don't try to discredit anybody, whether there's episode 1 or episode 1000. If I've got the time, I'm going to go try to help them out. So that's just how I'm wired. And you also know, like on my Instagram, I share everything I'm on. I don't go, well, I'm just too cool, I'm just going to put you into a story, because I got to keep my feed looking tight. It's got to be on thing. No, like if you send me the cover art and it's my face on it and says I was on episode whatever, like I'm going to share that, because that's who I am. And that's why people follow who I am. It's like, he's always helping other people. See? So if I'm going to spend an hour with you talking to you guys, why would I not share that anyways? That's stupid and it's selfish,
Love it. Dustin is the expert at this. This is how we've been able to attract some very high caliber people. So shout out to Dustin for his consistency.
There you go, Dustin.
Value trade, man.
It is, man. It's like, don't ask, just do the value thing, support them. And another thing is like, as we're podcasters, we can all laugh at this, is don't be the person that invites yourself onto someone else's show. Like, that's the worst. It's like, you're not even the dude that replies to my social media, and you're like, hey man, I see you got a podcast. I'd love to be a guest. Let me pitch myself. Like, dude, like I get pitched 10 times a day, like legit. Like, I don't need guests. Like, I only have 52 conversations a year. So, that's, a good tidbit for someone that's out there listening. Like, don't pitch yourself to be on someone's show. They'll ask you to be on their show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see what you're doing with Clubhouse is just purely giving value. It's the same thing. You're just speaking, what you just went through right now, and not looking to monetize, not pitching, not carrying people over, but it pays out on the back end. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll never hear me drop a tagline every time I start speaking or finish what I'm saying, or like, imagine how annoying that would be. Like, I had this joke about a friend, because my title when I get on a stage now or introduced on shows, like the Side Hustle Millionaire, because it's the book title, right? I get it. But imagine like if I was on Clubhouse and I said, Side Hustle Millionaire here, let me give you some value. Side Hustle Millionaire out. And imagine how idiotic that sounds. Like, imagine, okay, here's the funny part. Let's take that into real life situation. Restaurant. Let's say the three of us go out and have dinner, and the waiter comes up and goes, hey, what would you like to drink tonight? And I said, Side Hustle Millionaire here. I'd like to drink iced tea. Side Hustle Millionaire out. And then go, what the fuck was that? And then, he comes back and goes, what would you like to eat tonight? Well, Side Hustle Millionaire, I'd like to have a steak medium well and a side of this and that, and then Side Hustle Millionaire out. And if you need more information, just DM me and I'll send you a free course.
Sure.
He'd be like, what the fuck is this wrong with this guy? And, so why do people behave differently on Clubhouse than they do in real life?
Oh, that's great. I saw it was a pretty genius ad actually. There's a gentleman went around just, probably pre-COVID times because masks weren't involved, but he's just like walking up to people. He's like, hey, how would you like my 5-page this, just random passerbys like, yeah. Hey, how would you like this? I can guarantee this, and this. Why would you do? Those are the type of people we run away from in the mall, the clipboard salesman,
Oh yeah. Trying to spray you with their cologne and shit. And
yeah. They take the humanity element out of it.
Want to hand you their face cream or something. And yeah, it gets old, dude. It gets old. And the other thing I find that some people, and it's almost like they got to talk just to be talking. Right. Yeah. Especially when let's be honest. We got a panel of 40 speakers who are like the experts in whatever category they're in, right? There's always going to be like 2 or 3 people that need to feel like they need to answer every question. And it's like, come on, bro, or come on, sis. It's like
dick measuring contest. It's great.
Yeah, I don't get that. I don't get that at all. And a lot of people are like, man, you don't say a whole lot, but when you do, you drop bombs. Like, because I stay in my lane. I know the answers to most of the questions that are being asked, but I also know that other people in the room are better suited to ask that. So therefore I will let them be experts in their thing. And when it comes to mine, they're like, I'll be an expert in my thing.
Well, let's keep talking Clubhouse here while we're on the subject, because you've definitely been killing it on the platform, and it's a new platform on the rise. So what have you seen with it? I mean, where is it advantageous? Who shouldn't be on it? Because I feel like a lot of people there, you mentioned earlier about just consume content, never actually get around to doing anything. So what do you feel the proper application for Clubhouse is at this time?
I think that it's like talk radio, but it's interactive. Okay. So if you're used to listening to drive time radio and you like hearing people speak and share wisdom, like you can be a consumer. It can play in the background if you're focused on something. It could be replacing maybe a podcast if you don't really have a show lined up to listen to. But if you want to get the best use out of it, you got to get your ass on stage. You have to be speaking more than consuming. So go be a creator, not a consumer. And some people will be like, well, Tony, I don't know like Grant Cardone like you do, and I can't get on the big stages. Well, that's a big fucking excuse too, because there's literally a button that says start room at the bottom of the screen. If you can't get a seat at the table, you go build your own table.
Yeah.
And I would rather be speaking to a room with 10 people and speaking than sitting on a stage with 1,000 people and not saying a word. So got to find your way to the stage. Now, the best way to do that is to build your little network of people that support each other, right? So there's about 30 of us that have built the little relationships on the back end and DMs that we support each other. And we know we're all legit. And if we see someone that's sitting in the crowd, we pull them up to the stage, right? And it's like this unspoken kind of rule, like, hey, people know who gets pulled up, because when I pull someone up that says like Tony Whatley is inviting you to the stage, it says that on their little notification. So they know like, hey, if I see Tony sitting in the audience, he always pulls me up. I want to pull him up too, right? That's how you start to build a collaborative network. That's just like anything in life. It's all who you know, who knows you. So we spend a lot of time in the DMs. We do Zooms like these to get to know each other. And we build those little relationships. And sometimes when we're in the room, there's 20 of us on the stage. We're also in a group chat in the background, like kind of cracking up and like talking stuff and having fun. But nobody knows that because everybody thinks that we're just doing things on the stage. So understand that these networks, this is the best, most powerful tool you'll ever find for networking with people and actually getting access to them, because the response rate is off the chain compared to before Clubhouse. Because all you got to do is DM someone and say, first word should just be Clubhouse, right? So they know it's not just some random DM that we get spammed all the time. It's like Clubhouse. Hey man, I heard you on the stage. You shared this, and that really impacted me. Thank you. Like kind of start that dialogue, right? Without asking anything. Don't send them your link and like ask them to do this and that, or, it's just that you become spammer at that point. If your initial conversation is asking someone to do something for you, you're going to probably get ignored. It's just like, that's lame, right? So that's what I think about Clubhouse, is just build the network and the thing starts to grow. Right now, we're all early adopters. Android hasn't been released yet. They're saying it's 3 to 6 months out. I was an Android user and I went and bought an iPhone because I was like, I'm not missing this boat. It's like my friends are on there and they're saying it's a good thing. I'm gonna go buy an iPhone. And I did. And I could have just bought an iPad, and you could have bought a used iPhone 6 on eBay for $89. And you don't have to have the service hooked up. You just need Wi-Fi to make it on. So, now I've got an iPad and an iPhone, and so I can use them both. But the thing is that people make excuses, dude. Like I'll go post on my Facebook. It's like, man, I got 10,000 followers in 3 weeks. And like some people are like, oh man, I sure wish I was on there, but I'm an Android user. I was like, your $89 excuse don't mean shit, because I made over $40,000 just hanging out there 3 weeks just from coaching. So the $89 iPhone, like, I think the ROI is pretty good, and so it's an excuse. People just have excuses.
Yeah, I got some iPhones over here. I got 3 in the house, so I'm taking care of it.
Or you can just pull Dustin's strategy and marry an iPhone.
As long as it's got iOS 13 or newer, it can work.
Yep.
Let's talk about your book, Tony. We haven't really got into that yet. The Side Hustle Millionaire. We've alluded to it, but what can someone expect from that book?
I wrote that book as a hand-holding guide to get people from their ideas, which are rattling around in their brain, to get them to their first 7 figures. And it's based on really fundamentals of business. I actually wanted to write a really high strategy level book when I thought about writing a book. But I'm smart and I use marketing, and I always verify and validate my ideas before I go waste time on it. And so I put it out there on Facebook and I said, hey guys, I want to write a book. What would you guys like to learn? I said, we want to learn how to start and scale business. I got cool. That kind of validated that idea. And even then I was like, well, I'm going to go write this super high level strategy book because I've been doing this 20 years. And like, I'm going to teach the newest things that I'm doing. Like, so that was what I was thinking, but I'm smarter than that. Again, I went back to the same group a week later and I said, hey, okay, I'm going to write a book about business. What questions would you like answered? Present it to the audience. And the overwhelming response was very basic stuff. What's an LLC? How do you name your company? How do you know which idea is the best idea to pursue? Where do you get the funding? What's marketing? What's on a good website? Like very basic stuff. So, okay, been a business owner 20 years, and an egotistical person would have said, well, that's basic shit. I don't have time for that. I'm super awesome and I made millions of dollars. I'm not wasting my time on that. But a smart person will go, well, hey, I've asked the audience exactly what they want from me. They've literally given me the questions that they want answered. And if I could just answer all these questions at a really high level of detail and provide them a good response and some references and stories that go with those, I will have created a book that they actually want. And that's what I did. So I wrote Side Hustle Millionaire, and it's how to take the ideas in your head that everybody thinks that are gold, evaluate those ideas against each other to find the better idea, and then kind of walks you through the entire process to get it into operation. So I don't get into the whole operational side of things, but it's to get the business going, and there's enough in there to get probably the first 6 figures pretty easy. But it's just, that's what people wanted. That's what I wrote.
Yeah, I think that's the hardest part, is just getting started. I mean, once you have the forces of momentum behind you, things tend to pick up on their own. But again, most people have these ideas in their head and they ingest the content and they read the books and they seek the mentors and then never get around to actually doing anything. I mean, our podcast is testament to the opposite of that. Dustin literally hit me up one day. He was like, hey man, you want to start a podcast? And a few days later, we're recording episode 1, and I had just moved into this new place, and I'm doing it from my iPhone because I couldn't figure out how to get the damn computer to work. So
that's perfect, dude. Make it happen. It gets better. And entrepreneurship, we get better with time, and we get better with crisis, and we get better with mistakes. Nobody that's ever, not failed, I don't think I would trust them as a coach or an entrepreneur, because that's when we learn, is when we fail.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's the analysis paralysis sets in is when it's like books weren't intended to be read cover to back without action. You wrote your book with every intention of each chapter walking away and taking action on that, and then moving on to the next chapter. It's just, set it down, don't consume, don't get overwhelmed, and take the action at that exact point. Small incremental steps.
And don't start reading the next book until you've implemented the last book.
Oh gosh, like 10 books on the table.
Yeah.
God, I feel attacked.
And also I would say to go reread the books. I read books that are probably, I would say 3 years is a good time frame for me. that if I knew I liked that book, I'll go reread it. And the funny thing is that it's a different book when you read it again.
Yeah, I just bought this one again to reread.
Yeah, there you. Oh yeah, well that one's always that's the book all personal development books are based off of. So I get that one. Yeah, Think and Grow Rich for the listeners. But when you go reread it, you'll get a different message because at different, I guess, levels of your entrepreneurship and your awareness, you're facing some different challenge. And when you read a book and you capture it, a lot of times we file things away when we're reading a book. Oh, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. I'll come back to that later. That's a good idea. But you don't remember it because it's not what your challenge is. And then you go reread it and it punches you in the face. Like chapter 2 may punch you in the face the first time you read it. And chapter 8 punches you in the face the second time you read it. So, it's good to go reval those books instead of always thinking that the new book's got the new answer.
It's like that reticulating activating system.
Yep. There you go.
Speaking of Think and Grow Rich, I saw you just, I was just started listening to your podcast with Sharon Lecter. Am I saying that right?
Yep.
Who contributed to the sequel, Outwitting the Devil. Fucking crazy. If you've never read Outwitting the Devil,
that's an awesome book.
Oh yeah. Amazing.
It's creepy. It's creepy, dude.
Well, better than reading the book, listen to the audio where they interview the devil. So the guy has
got that voice. I'm going to do this. Why are you asking me these questions? Like, yeah, it's awesome. It's definitely awesome.
We got to get that guy on.
Get that guy's voice. Like, we want the devil from Outwitting the Devil.
No. Like, yeah, if we could actually figure out how to get the. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Speaking of controversial subjects, gentlemen, we're almost at the top of the hour here, and we said we'd get controversial. We haven't yet. So let's piss some people off. Tony, what is something you believe that pisses a bunch of people off that is maybe outside the box these days? And let's talk about it.
He's got to look at his social media.
Yeah. I'm always like stirring the pot, and I think that's important. I think, I always teach people to be polarizing while being antagonistic, right? Don't go. I always talk, like, even with my dad, like, don't go out looking for a fight, but don't be afraid to finish it, right?
For sure.
So if you take that same approach to your social media, it's not about, starting a fight or calling out a group, because that's picking the fight. But it's okay to go make a statement that's your belief. And if someone else wants to argue about it, that's on them, right? So most people, like we talked about, the not having haters and naysayers and critics, it's because they post warm, fuzzy, motivational bullshit on their, you go on their Instagram, it's like all motivational shit. Dude, there's millions of profiles doing that. That's how you stand out. People don't know you. You're regurgitating other bullshit, right? So be antagonistic, not antagonistic. Go be polarizing by, like, that's just like sharing your opinions and your firm beliefs. But here's the other thing about that. If you want to be truly self-reliant, which is a book, Ralph Waldo Emerson, being self-reliant is being willing to change your mind and be equally bold in that direction. Because as we go through life, we gain new knowledge, we gain new experiences, new data, and sometimes that changes our core belief about something, right? And so when your core belief shifts, you need to be equally bold about that and claim that, because the problem with most societies, they're not self-reliant. They basically will hold on to the old version of themselves because they've established a status around the old way they perceived.
Wow.
And they have a completely different belief. Maybe that, like in politics, perhaps. Maybe you grew up Democrat and your mom and dad are Democrat and you've identified as Democrat, but then your ideals actually start to lean Republican, but you're like, oh, I'm a Democrat. And you're like, but fuck, I don't agree anything they're saying, but I'm a Democrat. So that's how most people do. They don't want to jeopardize their long-term relationships and like their status and their standing, right? Yeah. But they don't believe it anymore. Well, a self-reliant person will be like, well, fuck, I used to be this. Now I've learned this. Now I've experienced this. Now I've seen this. Therefore, I am now this, like whatever that this and that is for you. So that's when you become truly a free thinker. But you have to understand that you just have to explain. Like a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to look like a flip-flopper. I don't want to look like a hypocrite. Self-reliant people, free thinkers, are okay being perceived as a hypocrite or a flip-flopper. Because I would rather be defined by today, what I believe today, than what I was 10 years ago or 5 years ago or last year. Because that's when you're no longer a free thinker. You're holding on to an old reputation that you created based on your old thoughts. That's the old you. If you're evolving and improving, you always push the boundaries and be bold about that. Here's what I believe today. Well, yesterday you said this. Well, damn right I said that yesterday because I didn't know this, this, and this. But now I do. So fuck all that yesterday. right?
Mhm.
That's when you actually start to make waves and become a thought leader. It's people doing that. It's not about regurgitating shit that you don't believe.
Oh yeah, fucking gold right there. But I still want you to answer though. What is something controversial you believe that has ruffled a few feathers as of late?
I mean, I think I live in that zone all the time, so it's kind of hard. I mean, do me some speed questions or something about like topics that are on your mind. I'll give you my bold like responses.
Let's talk the subject of the day, and that's everything going on with GameStop and the hedge funds. I mean, it's actually one thing I got to say is I love that actually it seems bipartisan in the outrage to what's going on here. So maybe that's not as polarizing, but while we're on the subject, what are your thoughts on everything going on?
I don't have any sympathy for the hedge funds that bet on people to lose. I mean, I was watching the interview with, the Wolf of Wall Street. He went to prison for, doing some shady things. But even him, someone that went to prison for doing, market manipulation, things like that, he doesn't even have any love for short sellers, people that bid on people to lose. Like for people that don't understand a stock, you can buy stock with anticipation that they're going to improve, like their business is going to improve, therefore you can make more money. But you can also bet on people to lose. You can say, hey, I think this company is going to go bankrupt and I'm going to catch it down here at the bottom when it hits this level, right? And so even someone with, questionable ethical values in the past, like he doesn't like short stock buyers because you're basically betting your money on people to lose. And I wouldn't want to do that. You can make money doing it, but it's kind of like they got their hand in the cookie jar, then all these people taught them a lesson, right? So they cost them billions of dollars. So I think it's a good way to really show that there's a way that you can manipulate the market and exploit the market, because that's what all the rich people have been doing to the common people forever.
Sure.
There's like these people they'll go buy the stocks, these politicians especially, because we've seen this and they don't get in trouble for it. They know the insider information. They'll go buy thousands of shares, and then they'll go on the news and talk about something, and it'll change the outcome of that stock. So they make themselves money. It's the same shit. Like they're manipulating the market all the time, and politicians get away with that, and they shouldn't. And big corporations get away with that, because they have the same access to social media and Twitter and all these different things. They can go pay somebody to go say something or create some kind of drama around something, and the stock either goes up or goes down, and then they capitalize on that because they were positioned in the right spot. So this shit's been going on forever, but only the rich people have been really, benefiting from this, and politicians. This was the first time we saw the common person like punch them in the face, and did it the same thing, just the other direction.
And then they shut them down.
An interesting hot take though that I actually kind of found controversial but made a little bit of sense is that I forgot who was making the argument. I'm not saying I fully agree, but I want to investigate a little bit further. These for lack of a better term, nerds from this Wall Street bets group are no better than the hedge funds for trying to manipulate the market. And so it was kind of like a swing all the way in the other direction that, two wrongs don't make a right type situation. So that was something I was kind of looking into. And also they were making the argument that there is a reason for short sellers in the market to help regulate the cost of a stock. I mean, if a stock is overpriced, it's overpriced and needs to be brought back down, for the natural occurrence of the market to happen. So anyway, I finally found a position that was somewhat against the little person as well. So I need to investigate.
It's probably someone that was invested in the shorts.
Oh no, it was Ben Shapiro. It was Ben Shapiro who I tend to agree with. But
ideally, no manipulation is the best, right?
Sure.
But we all know that it happens on the big end. The rich people and the politicians manipulate it every day, all day. Even Wolf of Wall Street is like, because rich people have been doing this for forever.
For sure.
I think you also look at the particular stocks that were affected, because it was the ones that have been severely hurt.
Yeah.
Either outdated or kind of like movie theaters with COVID and stuff right now with AMC.
Yeah.
And so I think it's definitely a spotlight that needed to be shined.
Yeah. But it's no different than these hedge funds teaming up together to take somebody down in the same way,
Yeah,
for sure.
So it's kind of like they have a lot of money and really fewer players. But the way this happened, it was millions of players with little money did the same thing to them.
Love it.
All right, Tony, one more
One
question.
more controversial hot take. Oh, you got a controversial hot take before
I got
we
a
get
short
final
one.
question?
So,
Sure.
short answer to the, I think, 12-month effects of printing over $4 trillion.
Oh man, that's some bullshit right there. That's some bullshit right there. And people don't even understand it because they're financially illiterate, right? So whenever, I mean, people are celebrating getting their, their Trump stimulus checks, right?
Yeah.
But what they don't realize is that that's their money. That's just it's an advance on your tax return. It's not the government giving you money. Like it's like somebody it's like somebody like giving you money that you let them borrow. Like if if Dustin, like if you let Eugene borrow like $100 and he gave you like $20 of it back and you're like, yeah, I got my money. It's like, no, dumbass, that was your money. Like that's coming out of your tax return. So, come April when everybody's doing their tax return, they come back, it's gonna be zero. And they're gonna be like, oh, I didn't get a tax return this year. It's like, no shit, because you got a stimulus check. Like, and you're all happy about it. It was your money in the first place. So it's like, I'm paying you your own money. So that part sucks. And just the whole way, like what the problem is, like all the pork that they put in those bills, right? Mm-hmm. So the politicians are paying us our own money back and making us feel grateful for that, while they're giving billions of dollars to all these other foreign countries that don't give a shit about America. And that's the real problem, is the stimulus part, which was our own money, was like the smallest portion of those bills. So we're out here giving you like, here's your own money back, but and make us look good, we're going to give millions and billions of dollars to all these different things outside of the United States, who are people who don't give a shit about Americans. And that's what costs us the real money. And that's what deflates our dollar. And, we see people thinking like, oh, prices are going up, I guess the valuation's increasing. No, dumbass. Like that's the inflation happening and your dollar's worth less. Of course the price goes up, but the value has not gone up. I mean, look at the car market. I've got a lot of friends in the performance and exotic car market. And, they're like, oh, look, the values of our cars are going up. They're all excited. I'm like, no, dumbass, the dollar is going down. Like, it's not going up. The prices are selling higher because the dollar's worth less. So, simple-minded people don't understand inflation and economy, and they just think things are great. But, I'd rather have the dollar worth more and have less of it circulating.
Yep.
I'm like, we can go in on this subject, man, but we're coming up on time. Just do a quick take though. Like, what is the solution to that? This mindset shift towards a more socialistic viewpoint, and how do we combat that?
Man, I think that socialism sounds wonderful, like on paper, because it's free education, free medical, everything's a right. You're born into this. I mean, that sounds awesome on paper. I'm not going to lie. Like, I think every capitalist and everybody that's, leaning right, we would love to have that unicorn fairy dust world. That'd be awesome. Yeah. Like, hey, how about while we're at it, they have zero crime. That'd be great. Let's just knock out all the problems at once, right? But we also realize that requires money. And we also see that governments don't have money. That's the biggest misconception, is people think the government has money. The government doesn't have money. They have your money. Mm-hmm. And I think most people, vast majority of people, are better at spending their own money than the government is at spending their money, because the government's really bloated and inefficient, and they lose money and things disappear. And, they're paying people cash out on runways in the middle of the night, doing stupid shit with your money. They don't have money. We pay them the money based on our taxes. So do you want to manage where you spend money and where you want to donate that money? If you want to be making a cause or an impact, you can control that when you have your own money. But when the government takes it and they tell you how they're going to spend it the way they want, that's socialism. There's no such thing as free medical and free college. That just means we're all paying. It's really sad, because I think that only 40%, if I remember correctly, of our population has a college education. And then you got people out there talking about, well, I want my college loans paid off. I'm like, motherfucker, it's like those people, you're wanting to take the money from the people who don't even have a college because they couldn't afford it at the time, and you're wanting them to pay for your college. Like, how dare you? But what about me that worked 7 years full time to pay for college? Am I going to get a refund because I paid for it myself? It's like, well, people are 18 and they're making big decisions, and they don't like. That's another bullshit reason, because everybody that's got a degree probably started around age 18, and they decided at that point that take on a loan and go to get the degree. You're an adult. You can literally get death sentence. You can get drafted into war. You can serve a felony at age 18. So you're all of a sudden like, oh, they're only 18. They can't make decisions. Like, come on, man. It doesn't work that way.
Careful, Tony, man. You're using logic here.
Yeah.
I find it real funny how a lot of people are they look at $1 million or a couple $1 million and they're like, well, that's so far out of my scope. But then when it correlates to the money that they've given the government and the government spending it, and you look at some of these numbers, like let's say the first impeachment, you know how much that cost taxpayers.
Oh yeah.
And they're looking at that, and then they got their fist raised. They're like, rah, 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 you know, a lot of these people. And you're like, they just wasted tens of millions of dollars.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, the winds at this time are continuing to blow in that direction. So we'll keep fighting the good fight. Otherwise, I guess we'll just all have to go learn Mandarin. Anyway.
Good stuff. Might be a good idea. See, maybe that's good stuff. This is a Side Hustle Millionaire. I'm going to have a course on learning Mandarin, and it's going to be $19.97. You can go to learnmandarin from TonyWhatley.com. See,
God.
Clubhouse pitch. I'm getting them ready.
Laughing and shaking my head all at the same time. Yeah. Tony, we appreciate you being on, brother. We're coming up on time here, so we'll go ahead and leave you with our signature question. Being that this is the Dedication to Excellence podcast, in your own words, Tony, what does it mean to live a life in dedication to excellence?
Man, to me, just showing up every day, putting in some effort to move towards your goals, understanding what those goals are. A lot of people don't have goals. It's amazing how many times I have just random conversations like, hey, what are your goals? Well, I don't know. I just want to take care of my family. It's like, guys, your family is not your purpose. It's your duty. Your purpose is much bigger than your family. So that whole, like, I want to take care of my kids and my wife and my family. That's the very common answer that's really volleyed back and forth between people who want to just aspire to be average. Okay. Because it sounds honorable, and it is. You're taking care of your family. No one's going to go, oh, well, that's a lame ass goal. Nobody's going to say that to you because it's your duty as a parent. That's your duty. It's your job. Like, that's not an option. Like, so do it well, but your purpose is much bigger than you. Your purpose has to impact millions of people, and everybody here that's listening or watching, you have that potential to do that. You may not have the courage or the skill set to do that right now, but you have to invest in yourself to become the right person and be able to go create that. We're all here for a reason, and you just got to think that there's an endless limit to what you can achieve. Most people just don't believe in themselves. So, man, be dedicated, put in the work, become the right person to carry your message, carry it boldly, share your thoughts as you think them, not when you used to think, and just go out there and do something.
Take fucking action. We'll go ahead and leave it right there. Tony, thank you so much for stopping by today, brother. We definitely appreciate it. And one more time, where can people follow you and stay in the loop with your work?
My website is 365driven.com. And then from there, you'll find links to my book, my podcast, and everything that I do.
So subscribe to his podcast. Well, subscribe to our podcast first, then subscribe to his, buy his book, catch him on Clubhouse. You can hang out with Tony at the club. And with that, we just love everyone for continuing to listen and show support. Stay blessed. We'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.